Welcome everyone to the Tower Project. And it is cold outside here today in mid-May while this video is being made. But it is cold here in the frozen north of the Teutonic wilderness. And in this fortress, we have two defenders for Siege Saturday. Spain commanded by Tiger Claw 1 and Norway commanded very appropriately by the drunk Norwegian. Currently moving a Serpentine out to harass Teutonic elite playing as Novgorod. And over here to the center, we have Lavernicus the Great playing as England. And he is sending over his general's bodyguard, of course, to counteract this Sally assault. And in the final position, way over here, out on the northern extension of this Teutonic red brick fortress, is myself, the Holy Roman Empire. That was a little too French. That wasn't quite German enough. And my armies are being led by none other than brave Sir Robin. That is right. Brave Sir Robin from the Knights of Monty Python leads my army today. He's apparently gone from Britannia and moved into the Teutonic Order, into Northern Europe, Northeastern Europe, that should say. And you are going to see why he is going to be called Brave Sir Robin here fairly shortly. So what is going on is that I am sending my cavalry over, which happens to be General's Bodyguard and my Raetors. My cannon pretty secure out here because there's no cavalry over by this northern gate. So I'm sending all my cavalry over to help fight the engagement here because they've sent 4 units of cavalry out and a sword staff militia to support this Serpentine. And man, doesn't this look great? Isn't this... I really like the way the Teutonic expansion looks. It almost looks like it's higher resolution than Vanilla Medieval 2. I mean, look at how good those knights look. Those models are really, really good. And again, we are getting some frame rate droppages because of the walls being destroyed. Drunk Norwegian's cavalry had a little bit of a skirmish with Lavernicus' general's bodyguard, but it looks like Lavernicus got the better hand there. Now I'm trying to pull a little bit of a sneaky move here, so I was trying to blow this wall open quickly and get my riders and my general in to cut off these Pavis crossbowmen, but they got through the gate a little bit too quickly. But plan B is still a potential. What I'm going to do, as soon as this wall goes down, I'm going to send my cavalry in, and there goes the wall. My cavalry is going to come through this wall, you're going to see, and I'm going to attempt to flank around and hit these guys from the back because they have completely neglected to hold this outer wall, which in my opinion was a big mistake. But we are seeing, to play devil's advocate here for the defenders, we are seeing some very good cavalry play by the defenders, protecting this artillery, and they're actually doing a good job. They managed to kill, well, they haven't managed to kill hardly anybody yet. They managed to kill one guy back here, but they will get some good shots forthcoming here in the future. And so swinging through as my general's bodyguard, my riders are going to attempt to come through this hole once it is opened up by Lavernicus. Some nice slow marching scenes for you. The billmen who forgot to bring their bills right there. And if you aren't super familiar with the expansions and the different balance changes between the expansions and vanilla, you're going to see a lot of us bringing two-handed units. That is because two-handed units are very good in the expansions. Much better than in the vanilla game. And so my riders came in, got a little skirmish off on them, and then my general coming through, cutting off the retreat of these chivalric knights. And we are going to start taking a lot of these chivalric knights down. See, they're all the way down to 18 now. My general's bodyguard's still at 13 men, and we get a couple more of them. So we managed to get those chivalric knights all the way down to 12 men. But here is where brave Sir Robin comes. Actually, we've got a little bit of a delay yet. So my general's going to go chill out over here, which was a bad move on my part. He is still at a good angle from some crossbowmen. And you can see one of my bodyguard getting sniped there. My rider's still playing around with the other cavalry out there, so definitely a shout out to Drunk Norwegian and Tiger Claw for very good cavalry play here. And unfortunately, my timing combined with the utter cowardice of my general is going to spell disaster here at the beginning of this campaign. So I'm going to go, I'm trying to run my general through, and I'm not entirely sure what my plan was at this point, but it wasn't a very good one, whatever it is, because look at this, the Serpentine Blast, and it wrecks my general's bodyguard, and out of nowhere, my general begins to run away with 10 men left in his unit. That's right, this is my general's bodyguard running away with more than a half-strength bodyguard. Now, of course, he's down to 6. But he is bugging out of here. Brave Sir Robin is running away. Now, you might recognize, like I said, Brave Sir Robin from Monty Python. Now, luckily, even though my general is running away, my riders are screening them out. But luckily, these 3 knights that are running away with him also happen to be Brave Sir Robin's favorite minstrels that he brought with him. And you may recognize the song of Brave Sir Robin that will be playing in the background here shortly. Firstly, I should turn the music off. Let's get the music off real quick here. So like I said, the minstrels of Brave Sir Robin are accompanying him in his route, and I think they're actually going to begin to sing now. And there we go, the minstrels of Brave Sir Robin there, singing of his gallant and glorious retreat. And yes, he is going to rout entirely off the battlefield. And so even though he has 4 men left and my entire army is over there untouched, he is going to leave the field. And like they said, when danger reared its ugly head, he bravely turned his tail and fled. And so he brings great shame on all the soldiers of the Empire, running away, fleeing the field of battle while his soldiers still fight. His cowardice will be remembered forever. And I mean, that Serpentine shot wasn't even that bad. It only killed 2 generals' bodyguard. So that just goes to show you the morale differences between Teutonic and Vanilla and the expansions of Vanilla in general. So we do manage to capture the Drunk Norwegians' cavalry there, but he got a good charge off on some of Lavernicus's archers first. So he did not die in vain. So very good sally-out tactics by the defenders, and they managed to get my general's bodyguard off the field. So, again, huge shout-out to the great play here by Drunk Norwegian and his ally, Tiger Claw 101, playing as Spain. However, now the Dwarf of the Teutonic Order are going to straight Executioner Squad these guys here, and you can see the devastation that is being caused. And a faint charge by the Novgorodian general, but he is going to faint out of there after the Serpentine is demanned. And so now that the cavalry and the Serpentine has been somewhat dealt with, there's certainly going to be a little bit of a lull in the action. However, I'm still going to continue playing around with my riders. The riders are some of my favorite units just to play around with because you can be so tricky and sneaky and sly with them and get all kinds of fun things done with those riders because they have such an amazing ability to rout units. And here, look, all the way at the edge of the map, my general's still running away. I didn't mean to hit the escape button there. I was going to play it again, but it would appear we're going to get an ad if I try to play it again, so don't want to do that. But look, he's not even trying to run off the field. He's running parallel to the red line, so he wants to stay on the field, but he doesn't want to take part in the battle. He is the most cowardly general that I have ever had in a Total War game. And so let his cowardice be remembered forever. Brave Sir Robin, who personally wet himself at the Battle of Baden Hill. And here's some of those tricks I was talking about with the riders. They're just sitting here taking pod shots at these chivalric knights, and they've already taken 4 of them out. Just sitting there shooting at them. And so they're going to try to chase after me. Oh, this guy sniped one right there. Did you see that? He is unfortunately going to get killed there, but he sniped one of them before he went out. So a glorious death by that raider. And now they're going to get out of there. So I traded 1 rider for 6 chivalric knights. That's a good trade in my book. I will take that all day. And so my cannon has moved up significantly close towards these walls. One thing I was trying to do that I'm going to continue to try to do, our opponents have a bunch of catapults. And I don't really like fighting catapults when the defenders have them. So I'm going to try to use some of my artillery ammo to take those catapults out. But I've advanced my artillery up quite heavily because there's no longer a cav threat. I, of course, do have my army close to support, and my riders could come in and support as well. But I've moved my artillery up because I don't want them to miss. You know, I need every shot to hit because in the Teutonic expansions, these walls have more hit points. And so with 1 artillery, I'm not going to be able to take out as many sections of walls and towers as I would really like to. And so my riders are chasing these chivalric knights back, continuing to shoot them in the back. Oh man, they are wrecking them. Look at that. That is the power of the riders there, ladies and gentlemen. They are definitely one of my favorite units, and probably one of the most powerful units in the game. Their ability with those short-range gunpowder firearms being only exponentially more powerful by the fact that they get a lance, or kind of a spear, when they go into melee, and they actually get a very good charge bonus, a charge bonus of 5, which is the same charge bonus that Stratius and Sarsgaard get. So they have a very good charge, and of course they have gunpowder. So by the time if you leave them on fire at will, when they get into melee, they'll have already put that gunpowder morale debuff on the enemy. And a lot of the times they'll just rout the enemy before they even get into melee. So anytime you're playing as the Holy Roman Empire and a gunpowder unit is allowed, I would highly recommend the riders. And I'll probably do a video eventually on using the riders properly. Kind of some pro techniques with the Raetors. And so at this point, we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding. And I'll try to keep you guys posted on any action that happens here. So Lavernicus moving his siege towers up slowly and methodically, exactly what we should be doing as attackers. It's 2 versus 3, so we've got a little bit of an advantage, but these Teutonic fortresses are very difficult to take. They've got a lot of good archer positions, and there's not a lot of long wall sections to really get troops in, so they force you to cluster pretty heavily, which will only maximize the potential that their catapults can have. And so as attackers, we really need to be slow and methodical here if we're going to have a chance, especially after taking some damage from the Serpentines and my general being routed off the field. So I would certainly say round 1 went to the defenders, if only because I no longer have a general, and that is going to significantly lower my morale as an army here. And so while we've got kind of a lull in the action, I'm going to run it down to double speed here, because I want to keep some frame rate alive. And let's look at the defenders' defensive formations here. So they still have their 4 catapults in the back. And then they've got, this is actually, even though he lost a good chunk of this unit, these guys are in a very good position, as you can see, to be firing. And they managed to take out one of my riders. And so when walls are cut down to little sections like this, having broken units like that sit on top of them is actually a good idea, because they can fire unimpeded by the walls down into the enemy. Gautland footmen and a lot of dismounted conquistadors and dismounted chivalric knights making up the bulk of the armies for the defenders. We do have some dismounted feudal knights all the way in the back here from Norway.
Smash a hole through the enemy wall. Charge through the breach and crush our enemy.
And so we're continuing the wall bombardment here. And I actually really like the way that these red brick castles crumble. I mean, look at this destroyed tower. I just think they look better than the vanilla ones. Don't you guys think? I just think these red brick castles look nicer when they're broken down than the vanilla ones. I don't necessarily like the layout of these fortresses too much. It would be cool if you could put men on top of these little running bridges and everything. That would be nice. But since you can't, it really limits, in all these little houses on top of the wall, really limits the actual wall space, which I think almost makes it's definitely, in my opinion, the most defensible of castles for the defenders, because there's all these twists and turns to give your archers good angles. Now, fortunately, my peasant crossbowmen here are going to get some very good shots onto these Gotland footmen, but we are going to take some damage from some crossbowmen up on the wall and the towers. But losing a few peasant crossbowmen to take out probably a dozen of these Gotland footmen is quite a good trade, in my opinion. And wow, look, their swords are buried in the snow. You can just barely see the outline of their great swords in the snow. It's like the snow has covered them. See what I'm talking about there? So apparently the narrator thinks the battle is going very well for us. The siege towers of Lavernicus catching on fire. The billmen not too worried about that, apparently. They are very relaxed, even though they are right next to a blazing fire. I guess they're staying warm. That's why they brought the siege tower, so they could stay warm in this frozen, wintry castle. And so at this point, I'm kind of playing some games with these oh, they're not peasant crossbowmen. These are crossbow militia. What am I thinking? That is absolutely unacceptable to call these guys peasant crossbowmen when they are crossbow militia. Now, they may have the same stats and be, for all intents and purposes, the exact same unit, but I should not be calling them peasant crossbowmen when they are clearly crossbow militia. And this entire time, we are now more than halfway through the battle, and my army has not moved an inch. And I am going to be very, very conservative with my army, because I know the dangerous morale penalty that my general leaving the field has had. Even though they appear eager now, that may not be the case down the road. Now I'm trying to take this wall down with my basilisk. Fortuitously, we did not have to take much down on the first wall, so a lot of our artillery ammo can be saved for the second wall. A nice charge here by the lone knight from Drunk Norwegian. Coming out, he's going to get a charge onto this Culverine crew. And he lances one right through the face. He takes another one out. Takes a third and a fourth. But the riders come in with the steel chair. He takes two riders out, though, but then one stabs him in the back. So, very heroic stand there by that Norwegian cavalry, taking out about 5 men and then getting a spear right through the spinal column. And so we're kind of trading blows here, those Norse archers and my crossbow militia. He, of course, has the advantage because he has these crenellations protecting his Norse archers, whereas my men are completely exposed here on the outer wall. And we have to fire over those crenellations to try to hit them. There goes the gate, shot down by probably that Culverine that we just saw get charged. Get you some nice cinematics of those crossbowmen firing. Now focusing a little bit here on Novgorod. Novgorod doing very much the same. Being very conservative, very slow and methodical with his troops. In fact, I don't even see his artillery. Where is his artillery? Oh, they're all the way over here. They must be trying to take down either this wall or shooting through. I'm not sure what they're aiming for. Maybe they're going for the towers? Yeah, looks like he's going for the... Yeah, look at that. He's going for the towers. Good work there by Teutonic Elite. And really very good work by Teutonic Elite taking out that Serpentine. I mean, he absolutely butchered these guys. So, you know, maybe we shouldn't give round one to the defenders. I think it was probably an even trade. We did inflict a lot of casualties on the defenders for them taking my general away. But I was being very careless with my general, but I did not expect him to run away when his bodyguard was so healthy. I mean, they only have 16 men, so being down to 4 bodyguard, he still has 25% of his bodyguard left. Which a lot of units will stay and fight under 25% health. But General's bodyguard, you'd expect, you know, usually they fight down to the man. That's kind of the whole point, is the General's bodyguard is supposed to protect the General to the last man. But apparently they didn't think it was a good idea for the General to stay on the field, so... Some Norse archers getting, trying to act as mortars here. And we're just starting to begin the second phase of the assault, which is to start firing through the gaps into the defenders. Now, here's a really good play by Spain, or what would be a good play by Spain, except for the fact that he's now exposed the rear of this unit. He's doing what he should be doing and trying to keep the walls clear. And they are doing a number on these English knights. But at this point, I begin to send the riders over. Let's slow it down here. Get down to normal speed. And they're kind of fighting in the ruins of this siege tower. And they're taking a lot of longbow fire. And here come the riders with the charge. We don't quite rout him, though, so he gets out of there with about 18 men. And this wall has just gotten bombarded to nothing. And the defenders have tried to glue 2 catapults together, it looks like. Tried to... Somehow they've managed to mold one catapult on top of the other. They're trying to make a double pult, it appears. And so Drunk Norwegian is just trying to skirmish with the attackers here, keeping his men in loose formation to minimize casualties, which is exactly what he should be doing.
Excellent. We have breached our enemy's walls.
And walls are continuing to fall down here. Just like Jericho, the walls are tumbling down. And here come the yeoman archers. And they're going to start trading with the Norse archers, which I don't think is a very beneficial trade. These longbowmen need to be using the armor-piercing arrows to go after infantry, not after Norse archers. Now, these crossbowmen are in a very good position, but I wonder if they're out of ammo because they have their swords drawn. It would be very early for them to be out of ammo here, but man, I really think the graphics look much better in this. Maybe that's the definitive edition, but don't those guys look really good? Even just those crossbowmen, and here's the dismounted conquistadors. I just really like the way that mail looks in this game. The soldiers actually look realistic, which I like. And I'm just now starting to move up the mighty siege tower wall. I mean, that would actually be very intimidating to watch when it's just this big wall of siege towers. And there's not even space for light to come in between the two. And my men are completely protected. And so one of our artillery shots manages to drop a catapult here, so that's a good move for us. We managed to bring them... Oh, and they lost another one back here. So the attackers are actually down half of their artillery. They're down to 2 catapults. And now we're going to be working really hard to take the other 2 out. That's why you should always... Pro tip for defenders. Never give up the first wall without a fight. Because if they had garrisoned this first wall and made us use up significantly more artillery before moving up, and then they chose to withdraw to the second layer, then we wouldn't have had all this ammo to be firing at their catapults, to take all these towers down, to take every breach. It looks like the wall caught on fire here. That actually looks really cool. Where it looks like the wall is burnt, You know, you can see the red bricks here, and then it looks like this section is burnt. That looks really good. And I know here I am marveling at the graphics of a 2000 and, well, this would, I think Kingdoms was released in 2009, but Medieval 2 is 2006. But I still think the game has aged very well in my opinion. It's still very playable in 2019. I mean, I'd certainly play it any day over Thrones of Britannia, which is, you know, reskinned Attila for another $30. And apparently on Steam, generally there's more people playing Medieval 2 than there are playing Thrones of Britannia or Attila or Total War Attila. So that is very surprising to me. Little sally out coming from Norway, but they take a cannonball to the face, and the cannonball takes down a catapult too. So a beautiful shot from that basilisk. They are now down 3 out of 4 catapults. They only have 1 left. And these Gotland footmen are going to charge with a vengeance after this basilisk. But the crossbow militia are about to provide some aerial support, some overwatch fire, calling the artillery strike from the crossbow militia on the wall. And this is going to be beautiful. Perfect angle of fire right down to those Gotland footmen, and they are dropping like flies. Just that shot there probably killed, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One volley took out 8 Gotland footmen from a crossbow militia. And these are like the best infantry that Norway can get. And there's another volley taking out 2, 3, 4 men. Oh no, just 3. So just 2 volleys from the crossbow militia taking out 11 Gotland footmen. And my basilisk running away. Religious fanatics going to come in. One interesting thing in Teutonics, religious fanatics cause fear. And so just getting them into the fight like that, they're already wavering. And then another unit comes in and they break. So the fact that they were outnumbered, being attacked in the rear, and having units that cause fear caused those Gotland footmen to break. So you've got to be very cognizant of morale in the expansions. You can't take engagements like that you would normally take in Medieval 2. You have to be a little bit more cautious than you would in vanilla. Lavernicus doing exactly what he should be doing, using his archers to fire through the gap. Although, like I said, he'd be more beneficial to trade archer fire with some of these infantry units, but it doesn't look like he has a good angle. And it looks like we've had some skirmishes going on outside the wall here, too. Just trying to get you guys some close-ups of the army here. I really like the look of the Norse archers. And the feudal knights look very intimidating in their plate armor with the helmets that barely even have eye slits for them. So again, they are down to 1 catapult, and we are going to see if we can take that last catapult out. I think I'm going to try to get my basilisk online to take it out.
Our men have breached the enemy's gates.
And there goes the last gate section for the defenders. That they have 1 man of the Gotland footmen running back inside. No proper infantry engagements have come up quite yet, but this wall has been very heavily manned by the defenders. There's a lot of units up here, and this is actually a good strategy. Don't be afraid to put your dismounted your infantry up on the walls until the assault comes, because when they're down on the ground here, they're very vulnerable to missile fire, and you're about to see some very good missile fire play by my allies and myself, taking down, capitalizing, I would say, on some of the mistakes of the defenders. The few mistakes that they made, they played very well thus far. Like I said, huge shout out to them with that serpentine and the cavalry play. Good archer fire there, taking some yeoman archers down. And my riders are all the way down to 5 men. But all you need is 1 rider left to get that gunpowder morale debuff. And so, here's what I'm saying. I'm getting my Pavis crossbowmen here to start firing through the gaps. We're taking a little bit of damage, but some anecdotal kills there by the archers on the wall isn't super worrying to me, to be completely honest. not what I'm getting such an advantageous trade here on the infantry from the defenders. And this is exactly what you should do as an attacker. And I'm going to move more and more crossbow units up. But you should always have units ready to defend your crossbowmen, and then move your crossbowmen in to fire through the gaps at the defenders. That's going to allow you to minimize their ability to hold the wall section, because every infantryman you kill is one less that you have to fight in melee, worry about mortars and catapults and missiles. So you should always try to do as much damage to the attacker's infantry as possible, and shooting through the gaps in the second wall is a great way to do that with crossbowmen and with archers. So you can see Lavernicus doing the same thing with his yeoman archers. But they've completely almost abandoned this wall here. All their infantry is sitting up on this wall. And so what I'm doing is I'm getting... This is what I'm talking about, where you kind of got to learn the angles. And I want to make an expert's guide on this. You have to learn the angles of different castles. But here you can see my crossbowmen have a perfect angle onto the men on this wall here. And they are going to get some very good kills on the men on that wall. And we have a little sally out coming from Spain. Some dismounted chivalric knights going to fight those Sherwood archers. And here come my riders to do their job and start killing the morale of those knights that came out. And you can see they're running away instantly. They want nothing to do with that. Come on, shoot him, guys. There we go. He sniped one there. Look at that. So crossbowmen continuing to fire through the gaps here. Let's watch this volley. Oh, man. And they are doing a number on these dismounted chivalric knights. And same deal over here. Pavis crossbowmen starting to do some good work on these Sammy axemen and dismounted conquistadors. But look over here. Absolute devastation from these... Was it these crossbow militia that did all that? Oh, they moved into here. They must have gotten caught, but they were absolutely dominating over here. And now we have some proper infantry engagements. Some spearmen coming in to engage with the conquistadors. Cavalry coming in. Bardish axemen with the charge into the conquistadors. And here comes England in with some dismounted English knights. And they're going to get a flank onto these conquistadors who are doing a great job on these spearmen. Spearmen are a little bit better in the expansions, but they're still not great. They're good at holding for a long time, but they're certainly not, overpowered or anything. Now, I've had this crossbowman start to shoot for a little bit, and they have a perfect angle on these dismounted conquistadors. Here comes some chivalric knights, and they're about to take a volley to the face. Look at this. Boom! A volley right to the face. And they're down to steady, so they're not eager anymore. They're continuing to take missile fire. They're down to shaken. Here come the riders, and boom, they rout. The riders really, really generating some great value this game. I can't tell you. I mean, they've been better than my freaking general who ran away like a coward. That ought to tell you something about your general when you're more proud of a unit of 5 men than you are of your general. Conquistadors continuing to fall there. And you can look at the damage that crossbowman on top of the wall did to the men shooting through that gap. That's why I say it's important that you learn these geometrical angles for where you can shoot through to get maximum impact on the defenders and as a defender on the attacker. For instance, I have not destroyed this wall. This unit of Norse archers or another unit of crossbowmen could have been spread out on this wall to maximize the amount of units that can fire through the crenellations, and they could have zoned out this Pavis crossbowman, this Pavis crossbowman, and those religious fanatics. So that would have been a good move by the defenders there. And a unit could be put up here, although they would get destroyed by this Pavis crossbowman. Over here, and then they would get destroyed by the retinue longbowman. That's why I say, don't give up that first wall. Now, they could probably get some shelter. You could really hug them close to this tower, and it would probably be okay to fire down in the courtyard. But once you give up that first wall, you lose a lot of your ability to properly defend. And so that's why I say it's very important. If at all possible, and when I'm defending, my preference is to actually hold the first wall, not the second one, even when I'm defending a fortress. Now, a lot of the times, allies are very used to, most players are used to defending the second wall in a fortress, but I would recommend defending the first wall. Because as soon as you give up this first wall, and you give the attackers the ability to put their men on the walls and fire down on you, you've given them a huge advantage. I mean, just look. There's a huge dead line of conquistadors here because I've been able to utilize their own bailey, their own walls to fire down at them. That's why my recommendation to you guys, to everybody watching this, it is a little bit more difficult, but it's also unexpected. Players don't expect you to hold the first wall if it's a fortress. But the first wall, in my opinion, is easier to hold than the second wall. Because they're always going to be firing. They can't really shoot your crossbowmen very effectively, or whatever units you have on top of the wall, because they're always firing uphill. They're always having to shoot up onto the walls. They never get to fire downhill, which if you let the attackers put their men on your walls, then they get to fire downhill onto your men. So that would be my recommendation. Hold the first wall. But if you're not going to hold the first wall, you at least have to bluff it to maximize the amount of resources that you can use up from the attackers. But at this point, the defenders are really getting skirmished to death. I mean, there's been a fight going on over here in the courtyard, but by the time we came in, so many of their units were dead by archer fire.
The enemy has lost half his army.
There wasn't much of a fight they could realistically put up. And so now their conquistadors are getting cut down by Billman and Druzina. Some catapult fire coming in, it looks like. Although maybe not. 1, 2, 3. Yep, all the catapults aren't destroyed, but this one's not manned. So that must have been a mortar or something. Does Lavernicus have a mortar? Of course Lavernicus has a mortar. So that was his own mortar killing his own men, but that's that's not important. So he's coming out with some feudal knights. Now this is the counterplay to the crossbowmen. You have to be aggressive sometimes with your knights to come after my crossbowmen, but because they're doing that, now I'm able to fire down with this crossbow unit and harass those men coming out of the gate. If I had good enough micro to see that they had done that, then I would have been able to do that. But there's also this fight outside, so I kind of had to choose. Riders routing another unit of Norse archers. These guys already wavering. And I think I am going to switch targets onto these dismounted feudal knights here. Yep, there we go. So my micro was just one volley too short, but now they're getting shot in the back, trying to flank these guys, and you know what's a-coming. You know who's coming around the corner when they come. It is the riders, and they are going to do what they do best onto these dismounted feudal knights. And what was, just a few seconds ago, a perfectly healthy unit of feudal knights is now completely obliterated. Down to the last man. And now the Novgorod generals come through, and we have completely busted through the second layer. Now, what do you think we're going to do as attackers? Very good job by Lavernicus there. Lavernicus and Teutonic doing a very good job taking out the soldiers on the inner wall. Although they did take some casualties doing it. But looks like it was a pretty good fight over there. We got to see quite a bit of it. And Lavernicus finishing up some of the scraps here of the Spanish troops. And all my infantry has not hardly moved this whole game. They are still, my entire infantry contingent here is completely untouched still. And I'm just now starting to move them into the second wall, because again, I know the morale penalties that losing my general can have. And so now I'm doing, again, what we did just before. Now we're going to move our Pavis crossbowmen onto the second wall. So that's what I'm trying to get to the heart at. Don't give up the walls. It's really, in my opinion, it's never worth it. Because once you give up an inch as a defender, you've given up a mile. You're far better off holding the first wall, forcing them to attack through the first wall, utilizing artillery and crossbowmen, to hold that first wall. I think you're far better off doing that. And certainly some castles are more beneficial for holding the second wall than others, like the Southern European fortress. That's one where you can kind of afford, and Spain had admitted defeat here at this point, which was a little bit premature. But that's okay. Norway still putting up a heroic last stand here. The Sami Axemen trying to fight off the dismounted English knights as crossbow fire just rains into the center here. And let's do 3 times speed here. And we'll just watch the fight here in the center as more and more troops continue to come in, and the last of the Norwegian and Spanish alliance begins to fight to the death to hold this town center. And here come the riders sitting right there shooting through the gap. Again, probably my MVP unit this game were the riders. But these dismounted English knights from Lavernicus have been pulling huge weight this whole game. Even the billmen are doing a great job. Look at that. They just flipped the sword and bucklerman. Killed the feudal knight. Of course, these guys have already routed, so it's not as good, but let's see if they'll kill this guy. Yeah, see, they flipped him. He hadn't routed yet. Give him the flippers. And so, I know this wasn't exactly the closest battle, but I wanted to show it because there's some really good cav play at the beginning by the defenders, and I wanted to show it to you guys to demonstrate just how big of a risk you're taking by giving up that first wall, especially in the Teutonic type fortresses. I would say in the Middle Eastern fortress too, it's very important to hold the first wall, and probably the Northern European fortress could go either way. I would say that one's definitely in the middle. But you should always try to hold the first wall if you can. You're never going to regret that. And if they use all their artillery, and you feel like, okay, well, let's retreat to the second wall now, then that's fine. But you at least need to put a defense up on the first wall. You should never just give up the first wall as a defender. So I thought this would be a great battle for Siege Saturday, just to demonstrate some tactics as the Forlorn Hope come in here and start cutting these feudal knights down. Let's watch the rest of the battle here in 1x speed. There's a few knights left here at the end. Riders coming in with the spear right there in the background. And there falls the last feudal knight to the sword of the Forlorn Hope. And the castle is ours. But like I said, I thought this would be a really good battle to demonstrate the tactical importance of the walls. And as well, I wanted to show it to you because of the incredible cowardice of my general. I just thought that was amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the song there of Brave Sir Robin. Who chickened out and gallantly turned about, and when danger reared its ugly head, he bravely turned his tail and fled. So, interestingly, everybody getting about 400 kills. Lavernicus getting the most with that extra 218 prisoners captured, getting about 700 kills. But everybody getting, like I said, on the actual kills-wise, everybody getting within 400. So, between 400 and 500. So, I thought that was really interesting and cool. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this special Teutonic Siege on Siege Saturday. I really enjoyed playing it. And again, huge shout out to Drunk Norwegian and Tigerclaw for the great serpentine and cavalry play at the beginning. Good work by my allies taking the walls and using archers to fire through. Hope you guys really enjoy this. Please do. Please, please, please. Send me in some battle replays. Send me your best replays, even if they're not your best replays. Just send me replays of your favorite battles. I always like to have some choice to choose from, and I hate showing my own battles. I mean, I don't hate it, but I prefer to show your guys' battles, because I feel like whenever I show my battles, I'm always focused on myself and what I do, and I'd rather focus on you guys as a community. So please do send me in your replays. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support. We're going to keep putting out all the best Medieval 2 content. I am so hyped for the tournament that is coming up here soon. We are almost ready to get the tournament going here in a few weeks. We have 7 of our 8 teams fully manned, and hopefully we'll get Pixelated Apollo to lend some support to it. That would be awesome. But please do stay tuned to the Tower Project, and I will see you guys next time on Sunday with Egypt Campaign Part 3, and I'm also going to release my Lothlorien Campaign Part 2. So both of those are going to release on Sunday. Medieval Egypt Campaign Part 3, Lothlorien Campaign Part 2, both going to be released on Sunday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Take care. See you guys next time. Stay tuned.